So I'd like to welcome you all. We're gonna chat about all of the set building items. So among some of the items that I've seen, like in my experience with DI and set building, is one of the most common ones is PVC pipe. Would you agree?
Yeah.
PVC pipe?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So PVC pipe has some really good aspects to it. It's pretty cheap, it's pretty lightweight, and it's pretty versatile, and it can be put together in a variety of different ways. So we got some different materials here that I kind of want to like pass around and take a look at and stuff. So PVC pipe in smaller pieces can be really strong. But if you get a 12-foot piece of PVC pipe at the store, it's really flimsy. So, and it bends quite a bit. So there's different properties to PVC pipe depending upon how the size or the length of the PVC pipe. So it can easily be cut. Do I have one? Nope, I don't have one. Okay, so they sell these things called PVC pipe cutters. I've seen them at like Harbor Freight, Home Depot. They're about $5 a piece. They're a big pair of pliers with a cutter. So you squeeze the handle, and then it will end up cutting the PVC pipe. So, and it gives you a real nice clean cut that's easy for teams to use and to do in order to create, to build the PVC pipe.
Can also be pretty easily cut with like a hacksaw or something.
Hacksaw
if you don't have a PVC cutter.
So, so PVC pipe too. Also at the store, you can buy connectors that give you all kinds of different shapes or arrangements or different ways of putting the pipe together. So these can be, you know, you can get 90-degree elbows, you can get T's, you can get 45-degree connectors. So these are going to potentially allow your team to have a variety of different solutions that's going to give you something really strong and be able to hold together really well. We'll get to that. PVC pipe glue. So glue is a very important factor if you're going to use PVC pipe in building your sets. We kind of recommend using PVC pipe. It's a great versatile material. Glue holds everything together. So we see teams that have problems with things falling apart because sometimes these connectors, like if you put them in to the PVC pipe, they fit pretty snug. But the more times that you've pulled it apart and put it back together, the less snug they get. They fall apart more and more. So potentially, if you glue them together, you won't have an issue with them falling apart or coming apart. The thing to keep in mind though is if you glue things together, it suddenly means that it has to be able to fit through a doorway and it can't be taken apart. So keep that in mind that whenever you're building set pieces, they have to be able to come apart and go through doorways, or they have to be built with a doorway size in mind. The rules of the road state that a doorway is, a standard doorway is I think 30 inches. So keep that in mind when you're trying to build your set pieces. Some doorways at older schools are only 29 inches, so it might be a good idea to give yourself a little bit of leeway whenever you're building stuff.
It's like the most important thing. That if it can't fit through the door, you can't even use it, right?
So PVC pipe comes in a variety of different sizes too. So typically, the larger the PVC pipe you get, the more like structural strength it has. Smaller PVC pipes can a lot of times will be more flimsy. So all of those will be good aspects in determining like which kind of PVC pipe you might want to use if you're going to use it for your building. So like as you can see in the engineering challenge, we have these gigantic PVC pipes. They're quite heavy, they're quite strong. So those are going to be quite different than just a piece of 3/4 inch PVC pipe or even just a piece of 1/2 inch PVC pipe. Because like these bend and flex pretty good. So we've seen a lot of different contraptions built with PVC pipe. We'll see like 3D frames that are able to hang things on them. A common one that we tend to see is shower curtains on a PVC pipe frame of some kind. So things like shower curtain hooks can be real good in order to hang things from PVC pipe or to be able to hold things up because they'll go on the PVC pipe real easy, they'll slide around, they'll move, things like that. What else do we want to talk about, Carrie?
Whatever prop pieces that you have, the main thing is to protect the floor. So nothing sharp or pointy on the bottom, or if there is, like, just like tape it. I mean, that's basic, like just wrap it in tape to protect it, or get felt pads or something to put underneath of it. The felt pads will also help it to slide, but it also will protect the floor from any scratches, because as they're moving it, you want it to move easily and not leave giant gouges on our space.
The other thing is like a common thing we'll see with PVC sets is if they're too tall, they'll wave back and forth a bunch and sometimes they'll even fall over. So it's important to have good supports for that.
Well, and that also by gluing, it helps to alleviate a lot of those issues too, with things falling apart or breaking. We suggest that the glue will recommend using a primer and then gluing it together and all kinds of different stuff. At Home Depot, you can just buy PVC pipe glue.
That's right.
Put it on one end, put it on the inside of the connector, and stick them together. It'll hold fantastic because chances are your team isn't going to be making something that needs the like crazy strength of like actually melting the PVC pipe together that some of these glues will do. You just need it to be able to be stuck together and hold together.
And when in doubt, use duct tape.
Duct tape is a
Be
great
a common
tool
theme
too.
today.
Yeah. We like to suggest going to Home Depot or Lowe's and doing a field trip with your team to look at all the different materials and things that they could potentially use. We found that it really helps to be able to actually touch things, feel things, see how stiff things are, bend things, in order to like get ideas or inspiration for some of these set building aspects or props. It really helps the idea process start to flow because a lot of these younger kids don't even know what some of these items are. They've never even seen some of these items. Like, I mean, an elementary schooler probably has never seen one of these before, right off. But this can be a huge factor in creating something that's stable with the wood stuff, which we'll get to in a minute. You know, so different brackets and different pieces can be huge. Carrie's point. Protecting the floors. So using things like sliders or little felt pieces, different things like that can be huge when it comes to protecting the floors because a lot of these challenges are typically in gymnasiums or big spaces where we can't be scratching the floors. Your team will end up with a deduction if they hurt the tournament site. So it's really important to use like foam sliders, little pieces of carpet, different things on the bottom of their sets.
Is it interference if we tell them that felt circles help protect the floor, and
So
or can you?
it's the best way to go about it as a team manager so you aren't interfering is ask them how they're going to keep the floor from being scratched and see what ideas they come up with and keep asking until they come up with a solution that will be good. Because I mean you can put cardboard on the bottom and it'll protect the floors. You know, there's a variety of different solutions that would be viable in helping that
If you're
too.
going on your field trip and you say, "Oh, we're in the felt square area, and these are useful for a lot of different things," can someone tell me what they might be useful?
Yeah, and there's their furniture slides. I mean, they make furniture glides and
Yeah.
stuff,
Right.
but it's essentially what those are.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a great way to go about it.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So another big aspect to set building that I've seen so much is cardboard. So cardboard, I don't really have any good example of cardboard today, but cardboard can be used in so many different ways, it's unbelievable. So you can cut the cardboard to shape in different ways. You can make good joints with cardboard by overlapping the cardboard and then using like duct tape, for example. What else with cardboard?
Cautionary tales with cardboard. I once made my entire set out of cardboard. We had to do like a box that unfolded into a set, and we thought cardboard would be great because it comes in a box. But when we unfolded it into the set, it didn't have enough strength to hold itself up, and we didn't really think about that. So the whole time we were just sitting back there holding the cardboard up. It was a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But
cardboard also helps with creating a 3D vision.
Mm-hmm.
So to create depth in your, does that make sense?
Yeah, depth in your set piece.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe you have bushes and suddenly you're going to use a bunch of different cardboard pieces to make it a 3D element kind of thing. So it can really help for sure with the depth. But the structure of the cardboard is a huge factor because my team one year had a giant like cardboard book thing that had huge problems with falling over and falling apart just because there was no structural integrity with the cardboard, especially once you've painted it.
Mhm.
So if you paint it, get it wet, suddenly it gets soggy because it's a paper product and it doesn't have the structure that it once had. So that's also something important to keep in mind is like maybe you're going to use PVC pipe or wood in order to give you the good structure for cardboard aspects, but don't necessarily rely on the cardboard for the structure and the strength of it.
yeah. It's great for like bases, like if you need stuff to attach to, but like it's not going to hold itself up. So building frames and stuff and then putting cardboard in the frame and then painting it or decorating with paper, however they want to do it, that's typically the best way to use cardboard.
So the materials for bridges should be the play cards and duct tapes, right? So why composites?
So if you're doing the engineering challenge and you're building a bridge, the materials are only duct tape and playing cards. But you also, in the engineering challenge, you have to create a set piece that uses technical methods to transform. But in the other challenges, a lot of them have set building as like a item as the challenge, or it's a good idea to have set building as have a set even no matter what challenge you're doing because it gives a good visual. It could be a team choice element if it's not something that's already scored. It can be something that really adds to a presentation that's very integrated into the presentation. So that's part of the reason we're trying to hit all the set building stuff. So typically, a set can be made of anything your team wants, unless it specifically says that it can only be made of certain things. Like I know for a fact there was one year where we made a set when it could only be made of wood, glue, and playing cards and aluminum foil.
Yeah.
So, we had this contraption made out of just those things.
But we used glitter glue to decorate it.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. But so another thing is like if you're going to use your set as a team choice element, be very specific about what you want them to score about the set. Because if they're really good painters, right? They have this amazing like collage or whatever on the set, but you say the set as a whole, then they're not really focusing in on that part that they put the work into, right? You see a lot of sets be team choice elements. Just be very specific in that.
Alright, so we're going to talk about wood building stuff now. Alright, so we brought along some pieces of 2x2 wood. This can be a really good size to get started with wood and in order to figure out how you want to go about building something. It can be a great way to go about it. It fits really nicely in our bucket. That's kind of why we brought it.
It's also really light.
It's also light too. It's because wood can become very heavy very quick. I can tell you for a fact because we had a set that was over 300 pounds because it had so much wood in it. So wood can become very heavy really quick. That's why we like to, mention how good PVC pipe can also be. So, but wood has its own strengths and advantages because it's really strong if it's used correctly and used well. So, some of the things with wood is that some of these brackets that they sell at Home Depot can be really beneficial in creating strong connections between things because just taking two pieces of wood and butting them up together, like say you wanted a T, it's not going to be very strong if you tried to put a screw from this piece at an angle down into your other piece. It's not going to be very strong. But if you use the like T-shaped bracket, that guy, use this guy here, we can suddenly make a really strong T in order to help build our set. So some of these connectors can be really beneficial. They also sell these like this that are really spiky, and you use a hammer.
These are
And you
all over
can-
my chicken coop. That's how they put it together.
You use a hammer,
These
pound
things.
them together, and they're really strong. And these holes here too means that you can put another screw or nail into them, stuff like that. Maybe you wanted to butt up your stuff like this, and you put one here, you know? And suddenly this can be a really strong connection that helps keep things stuck together. So a lot of teams overlook a lot of these connectors, but these are the kinds of things that home builders and construction people who are framers are going to be using whenever they're using wood items. Some of the other stuff can be like, they sell this stuff called strong tie. It's literally just strips of metal that have holes in it. So like it can also be used in order to stick things together just the same as a bracket, but it can also be very versatile.
It's flexible too, so
Yeah,
it
that is the
can
other
be used
thing.
in a lot of joints.
So it's very flexible. It can be used in a lot of different ways in different.
It's called
It's called strong tie.
So nails are the traditional way that you put wood together, but they can also split pieces. So you can teach a kid to use a little drill and do pre-drilled pilot holes. So and then they can use screws, or even if they pre-drill a pilot hole to get the nail in, it can kind of help not split the wood.
Yeah, so
So much.
drill bits are going to be great in order to pre-drill, because if you don't pre-drill, chances are this is going to split literally right down the middle, just like this line here. It's going to split all the way down, and you're going to have huge problems because suddenly the piece you were just going to use now is broken in half. So it's a really good idea to pre-drill things using drill bits if you're going to use wood and build things like that.
If you have the resources, having two drills with one having a pre-drill drill bit and then one with a driver bit is really good. If you don't, one quick way to switch back and forth is if you hold this part right here, and then if you go backwards, it'll open it up, and then if you go forward, it'll close it. Right. But just
Yeah.
be careful with it. It's
So
So buying drill is also part of the budget?
no.
Unless you use it in the skit, but
Yeah.
Right.
So any of the items used to actually build this stuff is not part of the actual expenses. It's only the things that come across the launch line during the presentation that count against the budget. So we recommend
You should build
hammer,
stuff you break ahead
nails.
of time.
What?
If you build your set and the whole thing breaks, that doesn't count, because it doesn't go on stage. You get to rebuild it.
Yeah.
Right. It's just what crosses that launch line the day of performance has to be under 150.
And Cole, what you have there are furring pieces. I don't know if you wanted to mention the difference between that and a construction 2x2.
Would you like to enlighten us?
If you can hold up one of those 2x2s.
Yeah.
Okay. So notice the corners on that. Okay. It has very nice corners, and it is made to fit stuff, like putting two pieces of wood on it to make it a nice square corner. Whereas if you get an 8-foot 2x2, it's cut in a mill in a different manner, and it has curved ends. It's going to be a lot cheaper to use those pieces, but they don't make as nice as square ends. So, and especially if you're trying to stack those to become a different width or distance, or you're trying to butt things up with those connectors, it depends on what you're looking for. So, it's
Yeah.
just those are called furring pieces.
We highly recommend that you take your team to like Home Depot, Lowe's, let them wander around, let them get some ideas or inspirations, or have a plan of what they're looking for, and then figure out ways to actually be able to do it once they're there. Because there are so many different items, so many different possibilities there that it's just kind of crazy. So And the other thing is like you could go there to get inspiration, but not necessarily buy anything either, because a lot of these items you can get cheaper or find them. People a lot of times are getting rid of a lot of these kind of items, things like that too. A lot of these items are considered to be junk items to a lot of people, and so a lot of people are getting rid of them, have them laying around. I've seen them at a great place to go is the Habitat for Humanity Restore, because they'll have a lot of these items and they will be like a quarter of the cost of Home Depot or Lowe's. So, because they have a lot of the home improvement kind of stuff. They also have furniture and different things like that. Maybe your team's looking for some kind of table or something for their presentation. So, I mean, that can be a great place to go to look for some of these items for cheap. They also have paint. They have all kinds of other things, too, that your team might be looking for.
The other thing is, if you're going to Home Depot to get like those long 8-foot long pieces, check for warping, because a lot of the time those long pieces will end up warping. A good way to check is to put it on the floor, flip it over, and see if it wobbles at any of those points.
The other thing you can do is that you can look down a board like this, and you can see how straight it is one way or the other. So that can also be a really good thing to teach your teams, is to be able to look for those things when they're looking at different wood. Because, like, I bought these barriers for the engineering challenge. I went through 20 different pieces of wood before I found one I liked. So, you know, and it was just all because they were so warped and different shapes that, you know, maybe that's not what your team's looking for. Maybe it is. So, sometimes really warped wood you can get a discount on too. So, I mean, like,
And if you're cutting it into short pieces,
and
short pieces, then like warping isn't usually a big issue. But if you're like building something that's like big, you know, and has to be really structural and strong, then warped pieces are not what you want.
Yeah, ask for where the coal wood pile is too. I mean, they're all going to be warped in there, but if you need something small or something, CULL. So
Usually a big bin that says discount.
yeah, and they've painted like the end of one of the pieces a different color, and it'll be again a quarter of the price of a full piece.
That's where also they have a mist-tinted paint, like someone who's really particular about paint, you can go and get the mist tints on paint, and if your team just wants like a red but they're not specific, I mean, you can come sometimes pick up really good house paint that way, for painting props or cardboard or whatever.
we also wanted to mention too that like if you're gonna use wood and screws or nails, try not to use ones that are too long for the pieces that you're going into, because suddenly you've got sharp pointy like screws that are hanging out past where you just put a screw in to hold things together. So like suddenly you just caused a hazard to all your team members that are gonna probably bump up against it and stuff like that. So trying to use the right sized item for the job is a better idea than trying to use things that are too big.
And when they cut wood, they make so a 2x2 isn't actually 2 inches by 2 inches. They include the width of the saw blade in that. So this is actually 1 3/4. Is it?
Yeah, it's
1
1 3/4, right? 1 3/4, I think. 1 1/2.
1 1/2.
1 1/2 by 1 1/2. So wood isn't true to size. It's slightly off. So it's a good idea to measure things too. Take a tape measure with you to Home Depot or wherever to like actually get the pieces you're looking for, kind of thing.
And take that into account when you're buying like what size screws you need to go through this piece of wood into another. Just take that into account.
But if they do get the longer ones, it's easy just to take a hacksaw and cut them off. My daughter's team had to do that all last year. They were cutting the back ends of screws and pointed out the back sides.
You can also like take a little dab of hot glue, just put it on there.
Yeah, so I don't know that Jim ever really mentioned this in here, but glue can also be a great way to connect things or put things together. Sometimes glue works better for some teams than other things. The only thing with glue is that certain glues are not very strong. So like hot glue isn't necessarily going to be very strong, but like wood glue takes forever to dry. So if you take wood glue and clamp things together, you're going to get a really nice bond, especially like if you then screw things together. On top of that, you're going to get a really strong connection, but it also takes a long time to dry. So I mean, like there's different pros and cons to doing all kinds of different things with the set building aspects. What else? What are we missing?
I would caution with using wood. So last year, my daughter's team, they made a big wooden prop and they had it open like a book. So they had 3 sections that would open up and use hinges and stuff. But during their practice of their performance, when it was all open, they realized it was top heavy and it nearly collapsed on a couple of team members. So just have them run through, and when you see that it's if it's wobbly or if it's gonna tip, just you can, as a team manager, say, hey, this is unsafe, we gotta fix it. Whether it's putting counterweight on the back or doing something to make it stable for the performance, because it's a safety precaution.
Yeah, if you see something that is not safe with this set building, interfere, because that is like the one time that I say interfere is when it comes to the safety of the kids and the team. Don't be involved. So, like don't let something happen when it shouldn't be happening. So use your best discretion there. Let them generate their ideas, let them come up with the solution, but tell them, it's not safe. We need to fix it. How are we gonna fix it? Stuff like that. The other thing with safety is like if your team's using power tools and stuff, make sure that they're using the proper safety precautions. So use safety glasses, safety goggles, things like that.
Closed-toed shoes.
Closed-toed shoes, big things to keep in mind. Using a lot of these power tools, most of the kids have not used power tools or any of that kind of stuff before, okay? So it's a really good idea to give them a safety, with all of your team members, stuff like that, so that everyone is aware of the safety aspects with all this stuff. Parents, team managers should be there if you got younger kids when they're doing any of the power tool work, stuff like that. We highly encourage that the team manager is overseeing what happens, but the team has to be the ones to actually do any of the cutting, shaping, using of the power tool. So it's okay to show them how to use it safely, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to use it. And if as team managers you don't feel it's safe for them to use it, then they have to come up with a different solution in order to ultimately get to where they want to be.
In relation to power tools, take pictures of your team using it. Just because, one, you're there anyway, watching them do it, but I had a situation once when an appraiser was worried that the very straight cut on the particular end of a prop piece we had was not done by the team. And I pull up my phone and I show them, here's the team cutting into that prop piece, right? And so, some situations like that, it can just help you out.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, the team is the other ones that really have to be doing it. So we don't want to be interfering with their process and their solution to their challenge.
And if they can't do it safely, they can find another way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's on a safety note. If you have any 10 or 11-year-old boys and they tell you they know how to use a power tool, don't believe them. Because they're in front of their friends. And the girls too. But I mean, I had a case last year where, it's a table saw, I use it all the time. Okay, let me turn it on, and you could tell with his eyes, when I was showing him how to do it, he had never even heard something that loud. And so, make sure that they're not, trying to be the cool kid.
Yeah. Or their definition of knowing it is they've seen it done on YouTube or something,
Right.
which means
Which is not the same as actually doing it. So.
no.
Well, and that's the other thing we really want to stress is that if there's a safety issue with them using something, and the team managers don't feel comfortable with the team doing it, say that you're not comfortable with it and they need to find a different solution. The team will find another way to do it in order to get to where they want to be. They will find another way. There's a lot of different options. A ways to alleviate some of the power tool stuff too is actually get a miter box and saw and let them do all of their actual cutting just with a normal old saw rather than getting any kind of power tools, because normal saws aren't going to necessarily have as many injuries or safety issues as an actual power tool. So
Is there a list of useful tools? Like if I wanted to do an inventory of my team, and what might you suggest?
So, they're the best materials inventory wise. I would probably suggest are scissors, PVC pipe cutter, a drill, a hammer, a hacksaw, maybe a miter box in order to get straight cuts or angled cuts.
If you're doing curvy cuts, jigsaw is good for that.
What else would be a tool? drill bits would be a good thing to have if you're gonna use wood
Flathead
stuff.
screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver.
Screwdrivers,
Yeah.
pliers, some of those tool items.
My team went through so many packets of drill bits and driver bits because we just sometimes you just lose them or they'll break in the wood. That happens a lot. So when you're this is a good point. When you're drilling, you have to make sure that it's straight. If you're bending the drill bit at all, it will snap. Right, depending on how thick it is. But and if the kids are trying to drill in a screw, if they're not at a 90-degree angle, so if they're coming at it like this, it'll strip the screw. So you have to make sure that they're coming at it directly on.
Yeah. Which, these are all skills that you can teach to your teams. You can show them how to put screws into wood. You can show them how to use the power tools. You just, at the end of the day, whatever they're going to use for their solution, they're the ones that have to do it. So you can show them how to do all these different techniques, how to put things together, but they're the ones that individually have to come up with the ideas and actually implement it.
Is it less points if they go to Home Depot and have Home Depot cut it rather than cutting it themselves?
I think as long as they dictate to Home Depot how they want it cut and where they want it cut, then the team is driving that.
Yeah. Which, that would be an acceptable way to get things cut, is as long as it's the team is the one deciding, how long, how big, different stuff like that, then that would be an acceptable. Because that's the same as really just buying a pre-cut piece, ultimately at the end of the day. What else do we have down here? Yeah. So some great ways to hold things together and to put things. So maybe you create a cardboard decorated set that you could attach to your frame. Zip ties can be great ways to attach things to other things. So zip ties can be fed through cardboard and then zip tied onto a PVC pipe or onto a piece of wood. So it can be a great solution to easily connect something at the last minute, or even they're just really strong in general in order to keep things connected.
And to get something on and off the or set piece really quick, there's these are Velcro. This is Velcro tape, and these are little Velcro dots that they're self-adhesive and they're easy to put on, and then you can get stuff on and off the set piece really quick.
Well, and maybe your team wants to pull something off of their set piece as part of their theatrics or something. Velcro can be a great way to do that.
We did that one year too, and we used magnets for it. So it's another way to just connect something real quick, as long as they're strong enough.
Yeah, down the craft aisles of Walmart even, they have little magnet dots and they have these Velcro pieces and stuff, so then that can be a nice trip to go take with the team.
Go to a craft store.
If you don't have zip ties, we all have Chanel sticks for instance. You can stick them through and twist them, and they hold as well as a zip tie. It's amazing.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
So, a lot of the cheap tool stuff, if you don't have any tools, they also have tool bins that they check out at DI Colorado headquarters for the whole season. So your team can check out one of the tool bins, and they have a drill in them. They have a lot of the tools I mentioned already in it, and it can be a great way to give your team some of these tools that you wouldn't necessarily have. So some people probably have lots of these things, but other people probably don't. So, let's see. Oh, wheels. So we have a lot of teams who bring a set piece with wheels in order to transition to a different set piece, in order to move it in and out of places, but we see a lot of problems with the wheels falling off. So, let's see. So we got these little casters, right? So if you use PVC pipe, we've seen some teams try to connect wheels to PVC pipe structures. It doesn't work out very well necessarily right off, right? But it's a lot easier to connect it to a wood piece, for example, than PVC pipe. So because you could use screws or nails or even bolts and put them into a piece of wood real easy. but it's a lot harder to get them to stay structural on a piece of PVC pipe.
Mhm.
So maybe, I'm not trying to give any ideas or anything, but maybe make like a frame cart on the bottom for your PVC pipe thing or something. Some way to get the casters to actually be able to be strong, connected into something. What else? What else are we missing?
Poster board is one thing that I've used a lot too. It's like kind of like cardboard. If you need like something to just fill the space and something that you can decorate.
So this is what a miter box looks like. They sell big ones for like actual lumber items. These we would use in the past for the engineering challenge to cut balsa wood. This is a balsa wood miter box. This is a balsa wood saw. But they sell big saws and big miter boxes in order to be able to cut things for like your teams. So they have little grooves and you can just cut exactly where you want. And this is a lot safer for a lot of teams, and they'll get a better they'll get a nice straight cut with something like this. So. Wood glue can also be good, but like if you're going to use wood glue, we highly encourage you to use clamps in order to actually keep them stuck together, because that's how glue makes really good bonds. Is like especially wood glue is for it to be clamped for like 12 to 24 hours. So using glue can take a long time, but it also makes like really strong connections. Faster ways to glue things together, if you're going to use glue, is super glue. So super glue can also be really brittle and really weak though too. So something to keep in mind if this might be like more of a last minute, like, oh no, stuff like that.
Also, I really like gel super glue because the liquid super glue will like soak into the wood, and it's not always as effective.
Yeah. I want to highly stress how important tape can be too. So like different kinds of tape, duct tape, can be huge when it comes to building a lot of these things. It's not necessarily the most structural item, but it's definitely good at connecting things together. It can definitely be good at attaching something to something else.
We had one of our team members actually used like X-Acto knife and duct tape to make just like cool art pieces.
Art pieces using duct tape and stuff.
Different colors and.
Yeah, well, duct tape comes in a variety of colors, patterns, all kinds of different things too. So, I mean, that could be a potential way to decorate stuff or to even just put things together. What else are we missing? Oh, on tournament day, bring a kit of supplies and materials in order to fix something if something goes wrong. Because chances are, moving things from wherever they're being built to the tournament, something's going to break. Something's going to get broken, and you're going to have to fix it once you get there. So I remember one time my team, it was in February, and it was a complete blizzard, and our set pieces were hanging out the back of a truck, and they were destroyed by the time we finally got to the tournament. But within the 2 hours, we had a great working solution because we came prepared and actually had stuff to fix it. So it can be a good idea to ask your team. So like, if this happened, what would we need in order to fix it? How would we fix it? Those are great questions to help facilitate that thought process of going into the worst case scenario kind of thing.
If you do design your set pieces to be put together at the tournament, make sure that you're being respectful of the other teams, because if you're using like loud drills and while other teams are performing, that can be really distracting and take away from their performance.
Do we have any questions or thoughts? I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Have you found if the cheap duct tape at the dollar store is as effective as other brands like?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
No, like
at
duct
what
brand
point-
duct tape is, as I've found, is like the stickiest. They also have heavy duty Duck
Or
brand duct tape.
Gorilla
Uh-huh.
tape.
Yeah, if you need something that's like
Gorilla
really, really
tape.
strong,
Okay.
Gorilla tape is
Yeah.
Okay.
for
So
sure.
like actual duct tape
Duct
brand
tape
duct
is
tape
nice.
is really good. The 3M duct tape is really good.
Duct
First
tape
aid
is the
kit.
one that has all the different colors.
Right.
Yeah, the duct tape brand duct tape is the one that has all the patterns and colors and everything. You can go on Amazon and get just about anything.
3M also has some patterns and different colors. and
Yeah.
stuff.
So they
First
have
aid-
to tell us that they want patterns. We can't just like get variety of things and say go at it.
Walk by.
No, they're the ones. But you can facilitate that. You can facilitate that process of like,
Yeah.
what do you need? How would you decorate it? Like, or what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, you can facilitate and ask all those questions in order to help them keep moving and keep coming up with their design and their solution. But at the end of the day, it ultimately has to be their solution.
In regards to inspiring teams, a couple of years ago, we went on a scavenger hunt at Michael's. And I gave him a piece of paper that said, go find me something that makes something sparkly, go find me something that makes something blue, go find me something whatever. And I handed them all sheets and said, go. And they ran off to the store, and I gave them 10 minutes, and they all came back. And they only got points if it was something somebody else in their team didn't already write down. So they'll have to bring back unique ideas.
I like that.
And then we use that to sort of figure out, okay, you've got a whole list of stuff you can use to make things sparkly, what do you wanna use? So,
That's really good.
they were stuck. They were doing everything out of duct tape, I'm like, I am done with duct tape.
Well, because duct tape also gets pretty expensive. That's what we learned pretty quick. You can make some great creative solutions out of it, but that roll of duct tape is like $10 a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's costly for your pocketbook as well as on the expense report. So.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention that they came, someone from the teen leadership committee came and talked with our challenge earlier. I'm pretty sure he probably popped into most of your guys' too. He talked about if you're a Title I team that they're trying to have supplies available to teams. So that could also be a good resource to look towards if you need the extra help when it comes to being able to get some of these things for your teams. The other thing is there's a lot of things that can be made out of trash. There really are. Like, I've seen some crazy out-of-the-box things with trash. So, pop bottles, cardboard, soda cans. Like,
We once made an entire house out of soda cans. It was so heavy. It was and it smelled awful because we used epoxy.
So, there's so many solutions with so many different things that don't really cost a lot of money either.
So are we allowed to start squaring stuff away even though they haven't asked for it yet and they haven't gotten to design yet?
Oh, I would say yes.
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah. Okay. My husband does. He manages my daughter's team, and they just walk into his garage, which is full of just junk,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's just like, all right, go for it. And they'll pull out, the old dryer vent that's over here, and just all different pieces and parts that we have stored.
I have a room in my house that's just total junk stuff, and the kids know they can go there and have anything they want.
So
I
why it's
keep-
called a garage.
I keep
It's
packing
the-
material
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
boxes because some of that is really interesting and texturized, and if they use it, great. If not, then you can recycle it later.
So
You
we can
never
also
mentioned
ask
Raft.
parents to
You can go in the neighborhood and
go in the neighborhood? Okay.
Well, there's also a place called Raft, which has all kinds of different materials that are extremely cheap and are considered to be the trash kind of items. Some of the things I've picked up there, like CD cases, you can get 10 for 25 cents, and just random materials that they've got tons of. So you can get magazines there, you can get all kinds of different crazy different things. So a lot of things that people have gotten rid of and are trash considered to be items to them, and then you get them for super cheap. So
Styrofoam is another good one.
Styrofoam,
Which
yeah.
is really great for sculpting things. And
I've
driven past
houses
houses on trash day and seen people throw things out and say, "Stop the car!" and pick things up.
Dumpster diving.
Basically.
My kids do that now. I mean, it's
I was supervising. Yeah, anything like that, make sure we're supervising.
Literally, we drove over a bridge and there was a construction site and they were like, look, look, look! And she took them.
Mhm.
So
Hey, that thrown out chair can be a throne or something. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
the thrift
Pick it up.
stores can be a great place to look for stuff too, because like maybe that'll help with the costumes or the different furniture pieces they're looking for. The hardware, the like thrift stores even have like hardware sections where they've got different.
And the thrift stores have sale days
Yep.
where like certain things are 50% off. So look out for the sale days too, because then it's even cheaper.
Yeah.
Or they have like sports equipment that has wheels on it. Those wheels can be taken off and put on something else, especially like skateboard wheels.
We've like picked up like up dresses for a base where they've like started with a base and then changed it, but for like 50 cents. It's a Goodwill store. If you get it on I think it's like certain Saturdays. It's like 50 cents.
Well, and the other thing is like you can use furniture in order to give you a good structure for a set piece or something like that too. Rather than building the like structure for it, maybe you're just gonna use a desk and you're gonna decorate it up and attach things to it and stuff like that. And that's gonna ultimately be the structure for whatever it is. You know, a lot of those items that are already pre-made, you can turn into what you're looking for, without a lot of the necessarily like extra work with all of the like building stuff. So this kind of stuff will get you a lot more like customized solution, but at the end of the day, like you could also get something that's really cool too using something that's already pre-made.
Is there more points for being sustainable, or do they take that into consideration?
Not necessarily. So, I mean, it depends on the challenge. Sometimes they have like lesser budgets and things like that, where like some of that sustainability aspect really plays a role. But most of the challenges, it's not necessarily a factor.
If it is a TCE, you could, like being specific, you know, say like we were very mindful of our sustainability, you know, like using recycled materials, and then if you tell them to score it, then maybe.
Oh, if
I
you
think
add
they
it
take
in there.
into
Okay.
consideration.
Huh?
I think they take it into consideration using recycled material
Yeah.
and this, without like
I mean,
it
Helps
shouldn't, but I
creativity.
think they do, yeah, because you're being creative with
Yeah.
different materials and stuff.
And just pointing
Yeah.
that out might
Yeah.
get you a little bump in points.
Yes.
I've seen some of
Yeah,
the
I think
coolest
so.
stuff
Point
made
it-
out of recycled stuff. Like, you know, like buying nice new stuff at Home Depot. It's not. It
Were
doesn't.
you at Globals last year?
I was.
Did you see the dragon out of the cereal boxes?
Yes. Or the giant whale. Engineer.
Oh, that's so cool.
So there's all kinds of crazy stuff that can be made out of the like simple trash kind of items. You know,
Yeah.
just encourage creativity, encourage out of the box thinking, and you'll get some of the craziest things. So, and we've got a minute to spare. Any questions? Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. Hopefully this was beneficial. Hopefully this gave you some more insights into the whole set building aspects of your challenge. So, thanks for coming.
Color.